I don't know if you've ever had one of those days that feels like a grey smudge from beginning to end. One of them being today, my 39th birthday. Rubbing my sinuses at the front that become two massive sinus headaches. I rose with a groan, not in much mood to celebrate. I am Anna and I had this lousy disease growing up. I am in a situation with this tricky beast that keeps me tied to countless doctors and the fancy private clinic I have been frequenting for what feels like eons. You know, good thing I made something of myself against all odds. I have my own successful business. But who are we kidding? Money is nice, but it's not a cuddle buddy for cold nights. There I am, at the clinic again, for what feels like the 100th time, just getting myself checked and fixed up, hoping to keep this beast bay. That is also where I ran into Ethan a second time. He is a nurse, 5 years my junior, and straight out of some fancy magazine. Good-looking enough to turn heads of any woman, ailing or not. That smile that somehow knew a little too much greeted me like, "Happy birthday, Anna," standing there, leaning against the nurse's station looking like he didn't have a worry in the world. "Thanks," I muttered out, not really in the mood to carry on a conversation. I was just getting through the day without any more bad news. Maybe Ethan sensed my mood. He ambled up to me with a cocky grin and an expression of soulful warmth. "Hey, don't look so glum. It's your birthday, isn't it? Then we could rejoice," he said as smoothly as silk. Ready to celebrate with more poking and prodding. "Okay, fine." I half joked but was mostly serious. "Thanks, but just let this end." Ethan chuckled, the sound low and warm. "And, come on, Anna. You don't turn 39 every day and wag your tail. At the very least, allow me to find you a passably good cup of coffee from your little cafe. The tab's on me. Either way, birthday blues or just the tiredness of it all finally taking hold in my bones, I nodded too. "All right, Jake," I said, finally beaming a small smile. "Coffee it is." Ethan and I walked into the tiny cafe area at our clinic. He went up to pay while I found a cozy corner spot. Ethan was just so relentlessly chipper, a bright light in the white and blue tunnels of joyless halls. He'd been throwing game at me from the first time I was admitted for an extended stay. All respect, relentless as hell. I held my breath and he came back with 2 cups and passed me one without bothering to look away. "Anna, you are the most courageous person I know. This disease, it is you, but not all of who are. Again, you have built a life, a business, so that's not nothing." His words were brutally honest and simple, but rang through my bones. He may have been blunt maybe, though I just happened to be open, but it felt good, not just a faceless patient file. I laughed, my head shaking slightly. "You always this optimistic. With you? Always. Low and intimate." His tone sounded as if he just picked another woman from the plethora of women who continue to throw themselves at him with titles like, "You make it easy, Liam Harrington, you really too easy to believe in better days." Why let myself fall? Maybe he used a birthday enchantment, or maybe it was just Ethan being charming as fuck, sitting there laughing and talking with mediocre hospital cafe coffee between us. I had not felt that free in years. I got discharged from the hospital, started to live my routine life, and I thought that was it with the surprises. Then Ethan called. "Hey Anna, it's Ethan. How about dinner tonight? As friends, if you want." Riding the high of our previous conversation, I paused. "Oh, what the heck? Sure," I caught myself saying with my stomach doing a happiness flutter. When Ethan picked me up that evening, he was completely transformed from the dashing nurse I had come to know under his scrubs, clad in jeans and a crisp shirt with the same disarming smile. The drive to this quaint Italian restaurant that he was taking me somewhere felt so heavy and thick. New things were about to happen between both of us. Ethan didn't beat around the bush over dinner. With his red lips parted on a mouthful of spaghetti, he leaned closer and brought me in real close with those eyes. Anna, I was wondering, what if you tried this? You and me. I nearly choked on my pasta. Ethan, you know my circumstances about my health. It's complicated. I will not be able to have a normal relationship. His hand covered mine over the table. Ethan. F*** that, he said, real firm. I love you as you are, not according to your ability or inability. Besides, you should be happy. Everyone does. They were a salve to the vulnerable part of me that lived beneath the surface, whispering warnings in my ear. How could I not be moved? I bopped up and down for a moment, then said yes, so I felt elated but scared to death. Ethan was an absolute breeze to date. He turned everything into a game, and even walking through the park with him felt like an adventure. He always managed to make me laugh, and for the first time in a long while, I wasn't focused on my illness. I was simply Anna, not Anna with an autoimmune disease. Finally, those 6 months that passed in a blur of pure happiness. And then Ethan just asked me the question out of nowhere. It was at our home, a normal night in, when he knelt on one knee with an unobtrusive ring. Marry me, Anna. Let's make this official. My eyes filled with tears, and I nodded vehemently. Yes, Ethan, yes. Or how we had to get some legal stuff sorted out afterward. Either way. Ethan, I want a prenup, I said to him one evening, steady voice and heart as fluttery as a hummingbird. Ethan didn't blink an eye, which is all the better for me because you being secure in whatever way possible works out perfectly. Without another word, Ethan signed the document in his bold hand. We had a very simple wedding at the city hall, with only 2 or 3 friends in attendance. Next we caught up in my flashing city center apartment hole, being relaxed, full of love, and in those moments my illness seemed so very far removed. Things started out great in my new life as a bride. I was grinding through another day in the life and it all felt like a dream to me, but Ethan and I both made things seem normal. Until a few months after their wedding, when Ethan hit Grace with some news. Ethan finally broke the silence during a particularly silent dinner. One day, my friend Anna visited our renovated church apartment for dinner, and halfway through Ethan announced, "Anna, I have been thinking a lot about it, and I'm going to resign from my job." I almost dropped my fork. "Quit your job? Why all of a sudden?" Oh, you love nursing," I replied, pretending not to be a little surprised. Ethan let out a sigh and pushed his plate away. "I'm tired, Anna. Sick of being sick all the time. It is exhausting, you know." He raised his eyes to me, seeking information from my face. I gave his hand a squeeze across the table. "I get it, love. But what will you do?" A slow smile spread across his face. Then I thought, perhaps, if you let me lay up and heal here, then at least maybe the place could be nice. Wouldn't that be something? I paused, considering. It might not be the conventional setup. Ethan's cooking was otherworldly, and he had an eye for creating such a beautiful space out of our home. So he asked me and I replied for the first time, "I like that, if it what you want then." Ethan decided to live up that promise, and he really was the best little homemaker. Every night I would walk home to a tidy apartment and the sweet scent of something tasty in the air. The meals were conducted as almost formal dinners, with Ethan taking care in making the table look like a fine dining experience. I felt like I was being doted on and loved, adored as though a goddess. One night, as I ate an amazing beef bourguignon that he made, "Darling, you have done it again." Ethan poured my wine with a smile on his face and pride in his eyes. "Nothing but the finer things for my top girl," he teased, winking at me from across the table. But the happiness slowly disappeared within a year of our marriage. I noticed a shift. Soon Ethan was in his office more and more often, doling out excuses every time I asked. He would say, "Just paying some bills or planning something special for me, and you." I did my best to shake that feeling, whatever it was. The apartment was still spotless, the dinners were just as good, but that man who used to sit and chat with me for hours was slowly closing the door on. One night the bad feeling would not go away, and I called him out on it. "Ethan, we need to talk. You have been far these days." Is everything okay? And then suddenly, he looked up from his baseball card scanning computer. Everything's fine, Anna. You are imagining, he soothed in a voice which was kind but soft enough to be dismissive. Just tell me why, and I will let you take a fucking holiday from this cage, but we hardly talk anymore. Really, you don't miss how it used to be. I pushed, the anger mushrooming forth. Ethan arose and approached me as I sat there with his hands on my shoulders. Anna, I love you. Nothing's changed. I just take care of some things to keep our lives running. Trust me, okay? And despite the doubts, I still wanted it to be true. His confidence was infectious, and I longed for some reassurance. Fine, I believe you. I mumbled under my breath, but the sinking feeling in my gut said not to write off what I had felt so fast. I wanted you to be surprised. I was going to stop work early for once, come home with the groceries and get Ethan dinner on the go, and maybe just spark something again. My key turned in the lock, and I hardly could contain myself for everything it was going to be a quiet night with my husband. But I was no too prepared for what awaited me in the kitchen. There was a middle-aged woman I didn't recognize, moving around chopping vegetables and stirring pots. My heart sank. Excuse me, who are you? I asked far sharper than I intended. The woman spun her head over and gave a confused look. Oh, you must be Mrs. Anna. I'm Helen. This is just a brief stop for me. I've been cooking and cleaning here over a year. A year? My voice cracked. And who hired you? Your husband, madam. He said it would lift you up, Helen answered, her attention directed back towards the boiling pot on the stove. The ground was about to give way beneath me. I could feel it coming. Thank you, Helen. That will be all for today. No, I got it, I say slowly and measuredly. When Helen was gone, the quiet of the flat felt like hammer blows to my head. I took a seat and thought it all over. If that were true, where the hell was Ethan tending to business? My private detective the following day. This was right out a TV show, but the situation had become dire. I needed to see what Ethan was up to. I was relieved by the quick turnaround on the report from a detective. Ethan had an addiction to gambling. Rather than the regular nights of poker with friends, he was blowing his savings in high-stakes games at one of downtown's casino. He was in debt, big time. That night when I confronted him, he didn't even bother to lie. He looked at the spilled pictures and notes of documentation on the coffee table, his face strained. Anna, I can explain, Ethan tried to say, but his eyes didn't focus on mine. Explain, Ethan. You waste our money. My voice raised an octave, a combination of anger and frustration. Ethan's shoulders slumped. I know. It's bad. I went to the casino as an outlet, but it soon got out of hand. I'm so sorry, Anna. Ethan, sorry doesn't mend it. I was bluffing confidence, but the defanging got under my skin. And why not? Would it not sting? Your gambling got you into debt. How much are we talking? There was the briefest pause. *70,000, he finally said. A long moment passed, then I nodded. If it were me and you, I'd be like, look, my guy, Anna, take care of your debts this one time, but on two conditions. You go get some help for that gambling problem and sign a little receipt saying yo boy paid off those wins. Treatment, yes, I'll do it. Anything you say, and I'll sign whatever you want. Ethan pushed the words out quickly, relief crossing his face briefly. Later, I quickly organized all. So the debt was paid off and Ethan began therapy. His hand shook as he signed the receipt with a pen. It had been a year since I'd spent my life savings bailing Ethan out of his bookie's threats and dropping him off at rehab. It made him return a different, reformed person, devoted to the new beginning I believed we were looking forward to. That bubble broke the day I walked through my front door and saw Ethan, but also his sister, Linda, and 3 kids, all with luggage on 1 box each in my lounge. What's all this? My voice was cold as I set my keys and bag on the hall table, sweeping up all that muss. Linda, who had the gall to not look like she belonged there at all, grinned as she stood up from a box. Oh, Anna, we are moving in. Ethan said it's okay as it his apartment new. I jerked my head around to face Ethan, who had slid in from the corner of the wall with that damned smug grin I knew way too well. redditcheating. Ethan. Ethan kicked off of the wall and slowly walked over with a smirk on his face. Exactly what she said. I've had enough, Anna. You have been taking advantage of this for years, turning me into your servant. It is my right, after all. I stared at him, dumbfounded. Your servant? Are you out of your mind? I've been taking care of you, covering your debts. And Linda started in again, her voice high-pitched. And that just proves it. You have got him by the short and curliest, paid to keep him in your pocket. The ginger man nodded frantically, reaching behind a sofa cushion to retrieve a stack of papers. He ended his post, stating, I'm asking for a divorce with compensation. Years of poor treatment and alimony since you kept me at home. Hearing it back, the absurdity of his words was a slap in my face. I glanced around at the house that I created, his nephews and nieces taking on puzzled expressions, worn faces. This was more than a betrayal, it was an attempted coup. Suddenly it just spiked to me that there was no point in giving a response anyways. Linda's avarice has spurred Ethan on to make up his mind. They went for the explosion and I simply turned, entirely composed in my motion while making my way to our bedroom to pack a bag. Ethan said, shouting after me with feigned concern, Anna, where do you think you are going? I didn't even glance back when I zipped up my bag and left. I'm leaving. You will hear from my lawyer. Talk to him about the rest. Later, as I walked out of the bedroom clutching my suitcase to leave for home, all you could hear was Linda, under her breath, taking a parting shot at me. Ha! That was weirdly painless. It was a laugh that would once have made my heart sing. This time, it sent shivers down my spine. Yeah, she knows when to give up. Their victorious laughter echoed in my ears on the ride down, but it was broken, empty and void. It was a cool, refreshing breeze of night air that brushed my face, and I thought quietly within as I hailed the taxi with an impish smile on my lips. Ethan thought he was in the driver's seat, played his best hand perfectly, but of course, I had an ace up my sleeve. I drove the taxi to my elite suburb an hour on all popular car routes from a well-fed city. This house was my sanctuary. What Ethan does not know is that years before my business really took off, I acquired this property with the intent of never renting from him and planning for any possible future healthcare needs. It was located in a little village that had got into its head to have a clinic with expertise in my disease. They had always expected to return here someday, well into another life or after my body quieted down further. It was with Ethan's act of betrayal, however, the day had since come too soon. Over the secure gates, we rolled up to our familiar lush garden and manicured paths. The house looked so grand and warm. It was evidence of the life I had created without having a man to be at my side. Unpacking didn't take long. I had arrived with the bare minimum, as all else was waiting. I flopped into a chair and breathed for the first time in about 6 months. But of course that peace-inspired short-lived. Few days later, it was my phone buzzing, Ethan calling me. It was a mixture of panic and anger. Anna, you set me up. Fuck you and pay me rent. His outrageousness made me hope. Calm down, Ethan. You want to meet up and talk about this? I'll text you the address. The next morning, I sat on the front porch and watched as a car rolled up. Ethan and Linda got out, both of them looking in awe at the size of my property. They all looked almost comically shocked. What is this place? You have to ask yourself. How? Do you live in a house like this? As I neared the familiar motorbike rider, Ethan blurted out just before him. I stood, crossing my arms. Welcome to my home, Ethan. I plan to hang my hat here someday. You never even asked, so I never said anything about it. The ever-instigating Linda pushed Ethan. Been hiding all of this from you, seeing you're in that dump. Ethan's puzzlement grew into outrage. You tricked me, Anna. Then your attorney says I owe for an apartment that's been sold. I wasted years of my life at that hole. That was a company flat held in my firm name throughout, Ethan. You forgot to inquire for further plans, nah. And yes, it's been sold. Rent's next month. I shrugged off. Linda smirked, her voice laced with avarice. We want this house, Anna. If we're going to leave the apartment, you give us this house. Desperation plain in Ethan's nod. Well, if not, we will sue. We'll take this to court. I cackled so hard, the laughter got lost bouncing off those tall ceilings. Oh, you will you? Ethan, this house had been a part of before you met me. It is preserved beyond your reach enclosed. Her disappointment was immediate as she saw the truth registering on their faces. They had no legal leg to stand upon. Protesting on, I sent a little sign to the security people who had gathered adjacent subtly. Ethan and Linda were escorted away, their cries quickly being drowned out by the white noise. It was cold in there, itself the opposite of what rooms like that should have meant on nights other than these. I would be one of the many men who Ethan was suing for using him as a slave in our home. At that point I was so angry but kept my cool as I knew Tagir had a whole stack of evidence ready. Ethan was the first witness to take stand, his tone hesitating but stubborn. Every day was the same. I redecorated, I cooked meals and cleaned our apartment. Anna took it all for granted. He sneered, shot a hateful look in my direction. She acted like I was nothing. Next up was Linda, giving her testimony which almost oozed with hyperbole. She had my brother completely bamboozled, but she was mean to him, constantly putting him down. I saw it myself. She's a tyrant. My lawyer explained everything in a slow, steady voice, and when he asked our first witness to step forward, Helen Aka, the actual person who had been maintaining our household chores, while Ethan pretended otherwise, it all began. GURYSEAECTIONEXAMINER. What is your relationship with the defendant? My lawyer asked. Working with Mr. Ethan, who employed me to vacuum the apartment and cook. He funded an account from which he paid me. Helen replied, her voice firm and steady. And how frequently did Mrs. Anna touch upon you in these doings? Never. Helen gave me a sympathetic look as she said, she didn't even know I existed until the day she found me in their apartment. There were gasps in the courtroom, and it rumbled with whispers. Ethan went very white. His sister opened her mouth. My attorney then slipped out the prenup, the document on display for all. The two parties, they agreed in writing to this. Mr. Ethan gets nothing if there is a split of any kind. The agreement read, is this your signature? Mr. Ethan. This is where Ethan started visibly sweating and weakly nodded. Yes, but I didn't. You didn't read it? My lawyer cut in sharply. Yet you signed it, correct? Ethan bit his barely whispering voice. The judge made a note, his face giving nothing away. And as the curtains fell, I had told my lawyer to mention the money Ethan owed that he used against gambling. It was his signed receipt, demonstrating that he had not been financially responsible at all, and it showed what great lengths I went to save us from financial ruin. The judge finally looked down at the case in front of him, and his voice was stern. The evidence and testimony of the review established, however, that Mr. Ethan's allegations are false. Court denies claim for return of the obliged amount and alimony. Moreover, the prenuptial agreement is a legal document. The divorce is granted. Linda's expression of rage acknowledged Ethan had his fight. Stupid, she whispered in his ear as they walked out. You screwed up everything. You didn't even know how to play your own role in our perfect setup. Every word they said, every objection thrown by the defendants was like music to my ears. I celebrated their arguments and those of Lady Justice. As long as it lead me away from that courthouse, a tiny breeze helped lifted this way off on me. It was all planned from the beginning again. Ethan wanted to live off me, and he did not think I would see through token eyes. His impassable greed had been his downfall, and now all he was left with were failures at every turn. Funny how life works out sometimes. As I sat in my sun-filled living room looking over the gardens of some ancient and secure village home that was now a memory palace and pure serenity, comparing it to what had been an absolute hurricane dressed to blow tight into centuries past. I had a good business run aground, and I could see enough of the coast to know that my assistant was keeping her head above water with it, while my health maintained its plateau all too close to an excellent clinic. I was happy, but then Ethan came and uninvitedly intruded in my peacefulness. When I looked at the security camera and saw him standing in front of the gates, he was disheveled more than ever, desperate. I had told the guards never to admit him, but he had finagled his way up as far as the front gate. As I started to open the door, he went down on one knee in a badly tragic move that would have been funny if it wasn't so sad. Anna, por favor tiensko levarm de vuelta. Ethan, su voz sono lina de dollar. I'll do anything. I will cook, clean, I do anything you say, just let me stay here. I looked down at him, my horror rising with every passing moment. Get up, Ethan. Stop drawing attention. I snapped, my voice running cold with disbelief. It's all Linda's fault. I got her guilt. She had me fall for everything. The divorce and the allegations. It all was something I never asked for, he said, mumbling. It came out as a poor excuse. Arms crossed, anger boiling right underneath the surface. And you expect me to buy that? After all this, you think that a little blame on Linda's part is going to make everything okay again. His eyes were begging, yet there was still selfishness that lined the void behind them. I could see it clearly. Anna, I'm broke. You forced me to sign a crippling debt for the full amount of $70,000, and I am bankrupt. I can't survive out there. He arched an eyebrow, and I was infuriated by the smooth expression on his face, cool as a cucumber no matter how many times we clashed with tense otherworldly powers snapping between us. You should have considered that before you conspired to rob me of everything I worked for, I fired back. His sufferings were self-imposed. How he was now, that was not my job. It must be stressed, not mine. Finally realizing his old tactics were not working, Ethan's tone turned desperate. Anna, darling, I require this. Please. I shook my head, resolute. You need to leave, Ethan. Now. I turned and beckoned to the store security hovering nearby when he hesitated. They both strode forward, grasped one of his arms each and pulled him up with them. No, Anna, please. Enough, Ethan. You've made your bed. Now lie in it. I interrupted him with a little less patience than before. I told the guards on either side of him to make sure he never stepped foot onto this property again. Driving home, I felt elated yet heartbroken, for the man that I loved had truly died and gone. I had dreams to hunt down and a life unlived, not that of my husband deceit. My place of peace, my sanctuary, which I had created with lots of love from ashes. Finally, my life was traveling round, never experienced, the world and meeting people who were passionate about what I am just as much as kinetic. I studied the greenery that surrounded my home, and I couldn't help but get excited about what life would bring. The world was big and open, all potential experiences laid out before me. I planned to do things on my own terms, head up, heart wide open. Ethan was a final nail in the coffin, one shot too many at trust and resilience. And so, new stories were to be told.
Hello everyone, my name is Miranda. I'm here to share the story of how my daughter and I sought revenge against my husband. The trouble centers around a major company that my husband used to own. I say used to because at this moment, neither is the company flourishing, nor is he the owner anymore. If you want to know how that came to be, follow this story closely. I have always been a hard-working woman. My parents were poor and took on the toughest jobs to make ends meet. I grew up in poverty and attended a public school, but I never complained. I worked hard and earned excellent grades. Upon graduating, I received an amazing scholarship for a business degree. My dream come true. It was while studying that I met my husband, Jordan. Like me, he was majoring in business, and we bonded over our shared ambition to start our own company. Eventually, we became close and started dating. He was an amazing boyfriend and later a good husband. After graduating from college, both Jordan and I landed high-paying jobs. However, once we got engaged, Jordan left his job to start his own company. Since he lacked the funds to launch a business, I decided to support him financially. Jordan, I said, I know you really want to build a company. I want you to follow your dreams. You can quit your job and start your company now. But I don't have the money, Miranda. If I don't work, where will the capital come from? Besides, I have to support myself. I will take care of everything, Jordan. With my salary, I can support both of us financially. I'll use my savings so you can start immediately. You don't have to worry about anything. Really, Miranda? You'll do that for me? God, I am so lucky to have you. I was serious about supporting him, and I did much more than that. For over 25 years, I worked for his company without having any stake in it. It was entirely his. I helped him financially and sacrificed my savings while he was building his empire. I even helped out at work after finishing my own job. Through my networking efforts, I provided Jordan with a significant clientele. He managed the internal team and daily operations, and gradually, the company became successful. I quit my job and took a position at his company to help him out. Together, we made our dream come true. We were happy, both professionally and in our married life. However, things didn't stay that way for long. The trouble began when I gave birth to our daughter, Mona. I could tell that Jordan was disappointed. Jordan, what's wrong? You don't seem very happy. It's not important, Miranda. It's just that I wanted a son. I was hoping for an heir for my company. Our daughter can be your heir, Jordan. We're both here to guide her. She'll be perfect. Don't worry about this. Jordan didn't argue further, but I could tell he wasn't convinced. Despite my best efforts to alleviate his concerns, they never went away. Things got even worse when his sister gave birth to a boy named Taylor. Jordan was thrilled and spent a lot of time with him. While I was happy that he finally got to do boy things with someone, I never imagined he would end up neglecting our daughter because of it. Whenever Mona and Taylor got into trouble, Mona always received the scolding. Jordan and his sister dismissed Taylor's actions with boys will be boys. I had numerous arguments with Jordan about it, but he saw nothing wrong with what he was doing. One day, Mona came to me and asked, Mom, why doesn't Dad love me? Is it because I'm a girl? Mona, dear, why are you thinking like this? That's not true at all. Your dad loves you very much. But Taylor said Dad doesn't love me. Dad likes him better. He plays with him all the time and gives him lots of attention. Darling, Taylor isn't telling the truth. Don't listen to him. Your dad loves you, Mona. Just then, Jordan and Taylor walked in, holding hands and smiling at each other. For some reason, it made my heart go cold. Taylor approached us and said, I'm not lying, Miranda. Jordan does love me more. He's told me that many times. I just told Mona today. Taylor, that's a very mean thing to say. Jordan loves both of you. There's no reason to hurt Mona like that. Stop scolding him, Miranda. He's just a boy. He loves me and doesn't want to share. There's no reason to scold him. He said nothing wrong. I do love him a lot. Mona needs to be less sensitive about everything. Yes, Jordan comforted Taylor instead of our own daughter. Mona cried silent tears while holding onto my dress. From that day, I started to resent my husband little by little. We fought a lot over his favoritism, but he never listened to me. I stayed with him because of my daughter. Despite everything, Mona loved her dad and wanted his undivided love. She worked hard to earn it, always telling people that her dad was her idol and role model. Sadly, Jordan never valued her immense love for him. Years passed, and the favoritism never stopped. Mona tried even harder to impress her father. She was a good kid with great grades and never received any complaints from school. However, Taylor was a spoiled child who constantly looked down on people. Yet in my husband's eyes, he was always the better one. When Mona graduated from high school and wanted to pursue a business degree, Jordan didn't pay much attention. However, when Taylor asked us to fund his business degree, he jumped at the opportunity and paid for it entirely out of our pocket. Mona managed to graduate from college and secure a good job in my husband's industry. Meanwhile, Taylor dropped out and spent his time and money on video games. Instead of reconsidering his stance, Jordan gave Taylor a job at our company, but he never offered Mona a position. Taylor wasn't a stellar employee. He often slacked off, making others, including Jordan, do his work. Seeing all this, Mona was heartbroken yet determined to win her dad's approval. I'd also worked hard at the company, striving to make it successful and leave a legacy for my daughter. Never in my wildest dreams had I imagined that my efforts would go in vain. When Jordan and I were in our 60s, he suddenly decided he wanted to retire and spoke about handing over the business soon. In my mind, I thought Mona would inherit the company as our daughter and legal heir. However, that never happened. One day, Jordan came home from work looking very happy and called Mona over, saying he had something important to discuss. I thought he would finally ask her to take over the company. Instead, he announced something despicable with a grin on his face. "I transferred the business to Taylor today," he said. "We signed all the papers, and he'll be taking over the company next month. I wanted to let you both know." "You have to be kidding me. You gave our company to Taylor. Are you insane? You never even discussed this with me. And what about Mona? Did you actually overlook your own daughter? Mona is a woman and can't handle the hardships of running a business. She's not fit for the company. Taylor has been with me for a while and is more suited, so I made this decision." "God, you gave the company to Taylor? He can't even handle basic tasks. I've been working in this sector for a long time, and you think I'm unworthy?" "Taylor isn't a pro at this yet, but he'll learn. He's a man, so it won't be difficult for me to groom him for the role. It would have been impossible for you even with experience." "How dare you say that, Jordan? I'm a woman, and I helped you set up this business. I spent 25 years of my life supporting you and this company. You've overlooked my feelings as well." Jordan's blatant sexism and disregard for both Mona's and my contributions were the final straws. It was clear he would never see us as equals, and I knew I had to do something to change the course of our lives. "Look, Miranda, I'm grateful for your help, but this company is in my name. Only I have the right to decide what happens to it. My decision is final, and everything is set. There is no room for arguments." I was reeling from Jordan's words. It felt like my entire world had come crashing down. I had spent half of my life working tirelessly for the company, all for my family, and in the hope that one day my daughter would inherit it. Jordan disregarded everything and handed the company to his nephew. I should have seen this coming, but I was naive enough to believe Jordan wouldn't do it. I was wrong. He casually handed over our blood and sweat to his nephew, a complete loser who couldn't hold a job. Mona was also exceptionally heartbroken. She had spent years trying to earn her father's approval and worked hard to prove she was capable of handling the company's affairs. Jordan wiped out years of her hard work with a single decision. We were completely cheated out of our fair share, and it felt surreal. Jordan's nonchalant attitude only made things worse. That night, Mona came to me alone and broke down in tears. Seeing her in pain crushed me inside. Anger started to bubble up in my heart, and I made a plan. I was going to destroy Jordan's business. I would get my revenge against him for me and Mona. I encouraged my daughter to start her own company in the same industry. "You need to make use of your skills and open your own company," I said. "I know you have learned a lot over the years. Your experience will help you immensely. You don't need Jordan's company. You will make your own. I will help you as I helped him." "Mom, I'm not sure," Mona replied. "I mean, I always did everything under your guidance. How can I be confident about a new venture?" "Mona, you are a pro now. I have full faith in you. Your dad only became so successful because I invested money and helped him navigate business decisions. Without me, he wouldn't have secured so many clients." "But will it be okay to go against Dad? I know if I start a new company, many clients would leave him. Won't you be mad at me? You did put a lot of effort into Dad's company. I know it's like your baby." "You have my full support, Mona. Your dad used us to build his clientele. If he doesn't care about our feelings, you don't need to either." I could tell that slowly. I was getting through to her. She was super upset at her dad, feeling used and discarded simply because she was a woman. The fact that Taylor gloated about taking over the company also fueled the fire. Since Jordan gave away the company without consulting me, I was going all out to destroy him. I would help my daughter become even more successful than her father. I also knew that I would divorce my husband. However, that would have to wait. First, I needed to help Mona set up her company. Since retiring, Jordan rarely paid any attention to his company. He was content banking on his shares and enjoying the fruits of my labor. Mona had also stopped speaking to her father, and I rarely interacted with him, so he had no idea Mona had even opened a new company. Gradually, word spread about Mona's company. I shared what Jordan had done and why I was supporting Mona instead. People were shocked by Jordan's blatant favoritism and became reluctant to do business with him. Additionally, they were skeptical of working with Taylor, given his lack of experience. When they heard I was helping Mona run her business, they preferred to work with us. As I mentioned before, all these clients had joined our old company due to my efforts. Jordan's company started losing clients at an alarming rate. He was confused about why his shares were dropping rapidly. When Taylor frantically informed Jordan about what was happening, he finally came to his senses. Mona has started a new company, Jordan, Taylor said. She is competing with us now. She's the reason we've lost so many clients. You need to do something. What? That's impossible. Mona can't open a business. She is a woman. A woman cannot just open a big business and become successful like that. No, Jordan, it's true. Your daughter has opened a company. Look at this. Our clients have mentioned they no longer want to work with us because Miranda left and is supporting Mona instead. Some clients even said their colleagues mentioned that Mona was way better at the job, so they decided to leave as well. No, that's impossible. This is a man's job. How can they rely on Mona so much? She can never be as good as me and you. She's not a man. You might want to rethink that, Jordan. As you can see, Mona is doing much better than you, even though she just started. Plus, you keep forgetting one thing. It was me who helped you get more clients, so it's natural you will lose them if I start supporting someone else. How can you do this to our company, Miranda? We built this together. Don't you have any remorse for destroying us? Stop saying us, Jordan. Even after I helped you build the company, you overlooked me and gave it to Taylor. You never once consulted me about your decision. Now you and he can figure out how to save your company. I said that and immediately left. They kept calling for me and asking me to talk, but I didn't listen. While Taylor and Jordan were busy discussing what they could do, I packed my bags and left for my daughter's house. She knew about my plans to divorce Jordan and was supporting me. When I arrived at her house, she already had a room prepared for me. When Jordan noticed I had left and taken some of my things, he started blowing up my phone. First, his messages were filled with demands for me to come home, then with rants about how I was destroying his life and hard work. I read every message but didn't reply. I didn't answer his calls or respond to his voicemails. A few days passed and Jordan didn't come to Mona's house to talk things out with us. Instead, he was busy trying to use his brains and do some damage control at his company. However, he soon realized that it was too late. Even employees started to quit since Mona's company offered better pay and guaranteed a steady cash flow from her growing clientele. Many high-ranking employees left the old company and joined us instead. About 2 weeks later, Jordan did show up at Mona's door just after my lawyer had served him with divorce papers. He came and said, "Miranda, Mona, please don't do this to me. I am your family, and so is my company. Have some mercy on me. Mona, I have no problem with you starting the company, but please don't take away my clients. We will go under if you don't stop." "Why should I care about you and your company, Dad?" Mona replied. "You made it clear that I was not a part of it. And you made it clear I was no part of it either," I added. "You don't get to come here and make demands, Jordan." "Look, I know I messed up, but I only did what I thought would be best for the company," he pleaded. "And that meant handing over your power to your useless nephew who doesn't have any concrete knowledge of running businesses." "That makes total sense, Dad," Mona retorted. "You made it clear back then that I didn't deserve the company because I was a woman, and you ignored Mom's perspective on this because she is a woman." "I'm sorry, Mona. Please, guys, just tell me how I can make this right. I don't want to divorce Miranda. Mona, I don't want to destroy our relationship. I love you guys." "Those are lies, Jordan. You are only here because of your company. If you had even a little respect for us and our hard work, you would never have gone behind our backs. Hell, even 2 weeks ago, you said it's impossible for Mona to have a successful company." "The joke's on you, Dad. With Mom's help and my skills, I'm all set to have an even bigger and better company than you guys. Please don't do this." "Fine, if you want to destroy Taylor and the company, then go ahead. I guess I deserve that, but please don't abandon me. I need you guys. You are my family." "There is no use crying now, Jordan. You made your choices and we made ours. We don't have to have any kind of relationship with you. We are done," Mona said, outright disowning her dad and kicking him out. Jordan begged and pleaded, but we didn't hear him out. He had lost all his chances and wouldn't be getting another one. Both Mona and I were heartbroken over what had happened. It was a big blow, especially since the betrayal came from the one closest to us. Months passed and neither Mona nor I relented. I divorced Jordan and ended up getting the house. Meanwhile, Jordan chose to keep the company, still holding on to the hope of restoring his reputation and clientele. I knew the business better than him and could tell that it would never stand again. Taylor was a lousy boss with no business sense. All he did was shout at his employees and lay down inhumane rules. There were numerous complaints about the internal workings of the company, and many people left their jobs. Currently, it is standing on a very shaky foundation, and the future looks bleak. Jordan begged me and Mona to stay in touch. Mona outright told him that he was no longer welcome in her life. I stopped speaking to Jordan long ago, but he still tries to reach out. Mona and her fiancé have taken over their company, and everything is running smoothly. I am still a major investor and own many shares, so I am set for life. I plan on retiring and buying a house by the beach in a few years. For us, the future holds a lot of promise, while Jordan and Taylor are stuck in the ruins of the past. On that significant day, I found myself standing before my father's grave. My father had been the CEO of a major company, and after his death, my brother-in-law Kyle inherited both the company and a substantial fortune. In stark contrast, all I received was an old mini truck. Kyle, flaunting his newfound wealth, mockingly remarked, "With this, I've got the company and the entire estate in my grasp. That mini truck suits you." Yet to me, that mini truck was more than just a vehicle. As I looked at it fondly and started the engine, I noticed a destination already set on the navigation system. "What's this?" I wondered. With a firm yet gentle grip, I began to drive. My name is Jack Nicholson. I am a 44-year-old tutor, now standing before a large coffin where my father rests peacefully. My relationship with him had always been complicated. He built a construction company from scratch, but I chose a different path, leaving home right after university to become a teacher, fulfilling a childhood dream. This decision led to many heated arguments, and for a long time, we barely spoke. Despite our disagreements, I never hated my father. I had my own dreams to follow and couldn't give them up to run the family business, even though I felt a strong duty as the eldest son. Guilt weighed on me for not meeting my father's expectations, keeping me from visiting my parents' home. My mother relied on my sister Lauren to update my father about my life. Lauren and her husband often sent expensive gifts or arranged trips for my father's birthday or their anniversary, pretending they were from me. Each time, Lauren would encourage me, saying, "I wish you and Dad could talk directly. He's just trying to be strong. Deep down, he must be feeling lonely." I often thought about Lauren's words and would just shake my head. One day, I got the sad news that my father had cancer. When I heard this, I quickly quit my job and returned to where my family lived. I realized that what really mattered was life itself, and the past arguments with my father seemed so small. I decided to move back to my hometown, teach at a local school, and take care of my sick father. At first, my father was shocked to see me return, but he eventually accepted it quietly. I didn't say much either. I just stayed by his side and took care of him, helping him whenever he needed it. He would thank me softly, and those words brought me some peace. Sadly, my father's fight with his illness ended. The last chapter of his life closed quietly with me, Lauren, and our mother by his side. We couldn't know what he was thinking in his last moments, but we hoped his soul was at peace. Even though we expected it, losing him deeply affected us all. My mother, Lauren, and even my young nephew, Peter, were all very sad and cried. The only one who didn't show any emotion was my brother-in-law, Kyle. During the funeral preparations, he coldly asked, "Did he finally die, huh?" Hearing that, I was proud of myself for staying calm and not reacting angrily to Kyle. Instead, I focused on planning my father's funeral, keeping myself busy to distract from the pain. I ignored Kyle's harsh words and made sure everything for the funeral was done right. Kyle and I had never gotten along well, and our relationship only worsened over time. But despite everything, I kept my focus during this tough time. I first met Kyle when he was a skilled worker at my father's company, and I really respected his abilities. It felt like I had gained a real brother when Kyle married my sister Lauren. He was 5 years older than me and seemed like a role model. Before they got married, I often asked him for advice on various problems, and he always listened with understanding. One of our big discussions was about whether I should join the family business. Kyle would say, "A son should live his own life. Jack, you have your own path. No one knows which choices in life are the best, so the most important thing is to make choices you won't regret later." Encouraged by his words, I switched from business school, where I was studying management, to the Faculty of Education, where I truly wanted to study. As time went on, Kyle and Lauren got married and started their life together. 22 years passed, and the distance between my father and me grew wider. I moved on with my life, missing the chance to close that gap. But when I heard about my father's illness, I dropped everything and rushed home. Kyle, who once greeted me warmly, had changed. He now seemed uncomfortable around me. When we were alone, Kyle would say coldly, "You came back in a hurry when you heard he was sick, didn't you? But no matter what, you won't inherit anything." His words caught me off guard, and I struggled to respond. "What do you mean?" "Don't act like you don't know. It might be a coincidence, but even if you now want to run the company, it's already decided who will be the next leader." His harsh words shocked me, and I replied louder than I intended. "No, that's not it. I did come back for the company. I realized I hadn't been a good son and wanted to apologize to Dad, even if it's late." Kyle dismissed me. "I don't need your fancy talk. It sounds like something from a TV drama. Lori likes that kind of stuff. But were all those gifts you sent just a way to look good in front of him?" "That's absolutely not true." I tried to explain, but Kyle had already made up his mind and wasn't interested in believing me. His words also seemed like a slight against Lauren, and for the first time, I felt a deep divide between us. Ever since that incident, I started to feel really upset with Kyle. He began to mock me openly. "No matter how much you try to win him over, that time has passed. Don't make me laugh. Go back to where you belong and take care of your troubled students," he would say. At first, I thought deeply about how I appeared to others and how they saw me, but Kyle's words showed he was more concerned about himself than our father. His behavior often seemed disrespectful to both his father-in-law and his wife, Lauren. I started to believe that Kyle had married Lauren mainly to get closer to my father's company and wealth. He rarely visited my father when he was ill and didn't help take care of him. Now, all I could do was work as hard as possible to protect the company my father had built. Kyle always sounded polished, but he really just wanted to avoid problems. On weekends, he would go play golf, claiming it was for business. He hardly ever took care of his own son. He said he wanted his son to learn many skills to eventually take over the business, but he left all the driving and housework to Lauren. When Lauren showed a bit of unhappiness about this, Kyle would passionately take her hand and say, "I'm giving my all for his sake. Now is the time to produce results by any means necessary. Let's overcome this trial together." Lauren found it hard to stand up to him and usually just nodded, even though she seemed reluctant. Kyle was good at acting like the perfect husband in front of Lauren, so it's no surprise she believed him. He showed his true self to me, probably because he thought I was like him. I eventually got used to Kyle's mocking, and it didn't bother me as much. However, when our beloved father passed away, I was heartbroken. I felt a deep sadness and emptiness. Although Kyle seemed upset about our father's worsening health, I couldn't shake the feeling that he had been waiting for this moment. This thought made me very sad and angry. After our father died, Kyle inherited most of our father's large fortune. Even though he was just a son-in-law, he had the same rights to the inheritance as Lauren and me. According to my father's will, he got most of the shares of the company and a lot of wealth. This unexpected turn of events left me speechless. Even though I was my father's biological child, I had thought the inheritance would be split fairly among the three of us. But instead, Kyle got almost everything. All I received was an old mini truck that my father once loved. In public, Kyle seemed surprised, but alone with me, he laughed and said, "You came all the way from the city to this small town, took care of him day and night, and all you got is this little truck, huh? What an ironic end. Now the company is mine, and you're left with just this mini truck as your inheritance. It's like a comedy." As he left the room with a smirk, I felt empty inside, holding the mini truck keys tightly. The cold metal made me face the harsh reality. My family tried to cheer me up. "Keep your head up. He had his reasons. He didn't mean to upset you. That truck was something Dad always loved. It was his favorite vehicle. He surely cared about you." Despite their kind words, I was too hurt to respond. I knew that what you inherit doesn't measure a father's love, but the fact that Kyle, who seemed to be waiting for my father to die, got almost everything was deeply insulting. It wasn't about the money. It was the pain of seeing my father's hard work go to such a man. I felt powerless to change the situation. Clutching the truck key, I decided to take care of the mini truck, the only thing my father left me. It seemed to hold a deeper meaning. I hoped that cleaning the truck might help me sort out my feelings. I used a hose to carefully wash the truck and then sat in the driver's seat where my father used to sit. Starting the engine, I noticed something unusual on the navigation system. It was displaying a single thick blue route instead of just showing my location. "That's odd. Why is there a destination set on the navigation system?" I wondered. This usually only happens when a specific road is being followed. When I checked the destination on the screen, it showed only coordinates, not a specific place. It would take about an hour's drive. Wanting to go for a drive in the mini truck, I didn't think too much about it. I put the truck in first gear and left the house. An hour later, during the pleasant drive, I arrived at what seemed like a home. It was a surprise. In front of me was a small, modest house, quite different from the larger homes in my hometown. It felt warm and inviting. The area was quiet, and I couldn't see or hear anyone else around. I got out of the truck and stood in front of the house, feeling a bit confused. There were no signs to indicate what this place was, but it seemed the navigation system had brought me here for a reason. With some hesitation, I rang the doorbell. As the door slowly opened, the person I saw was the last one I expected. My mom? I've been waiting, Jack. Come in, dear, she said. Why are you here, Mom? And how come this place was set in Dad's navigation system? I asked. I will explain everything, but first come inside and relax, she replied. Following her inside, I found the interior simple yet cozy, with just the essentials. My mom made some tea and started to explain in a calm voice. Actually, this was your father's secret hideout. A hideout. I was surprised. I've never heard about Dad having a place like this. This place is our secret spot. We came here when we needed our own space or when we wanted some peace and quiet. If we ever had a small argument, our rule was to come here to cool off. You didn't know about it, did you? She continued. No, I didn't, I replied, still trying to absorb this new information. And this, she said, handing me a brown envelope. This is something your father wanted you to have. The envelope was slightly bulging, as if something important was packed inside. I decided to read the letter addressed to me. Jack, I have caused you a lot of trouble and made you endure unbearable hardships over the years. I am truly sorry from the bottom of my heart. The letter began. It was filled with my father's reflections on his past mistakes and his deep gratitude toward me. He wrote, Your mother often tells me that it was your choice to leave home, and a son has the right to choose his own path in life. We are both stubborn, but when you came back after I fell ill, it was a wonderful surprise for me. Although I couldn't express it well because I'm not good at showing my feelings, I am deeply grateful to you for supporting and taking care of the family. This was the first time I heard such heartfelt words from my father, and it made me very emotional. The letter also mentioned Kyle. To tell the truth, my distrust towards Kyle grew over time. He's good with words and makes people feel comfortable, but I could see his true nature. I suspected his sneaky behavior around the house was his way of trying to claim ownership. I was too tired from work and taking care of you all to notice his cunning actions. But now, knowing Kyle as I do, I believe these suspicions were correct. The letter continued, I have no intention of giving the company to you, but if something unexpected happens, I have left a significant amount of money with your mother. This is to ensure that you and Lauren will not be in need. Please accept it. After finishing the letter, I looked up at my mother. She said nothing but looked at the brown envelope. I hesitated, then reached for it and checked its contents, confirming everything was in my mother's name. She began to speak firmly. If I transfer the accounts to you and Lauren's names, it would be considered a gift under tax laws. If it's mentioned in the will, Kyle might try to take it. Your father gave this money to me secretly while he was still alive to avoid Kyle's interference. Now I want to give it to you and Lauren as a living gift. She explained this to me, but I was still trying to understand the full impact. The amount written in the account book she showed me was huge, unlike anything I could have imagined. I had never seen so much money before. It meant a lot to me that my dad had left this for me, not because of the amount, but because it showed he really cared about me, not just Kyle, who was seen as his successor. This touched me deeply. We didn't often share deep emotional words, but I knew he always cared deeply for us. I want everything I entrusted to your mother to be passed on to you as a thank you for all the gifts you've given me, and for that, I am truly grateful, he wrote. Before I knew it, tears were streaming down my face. I couldn't hold back my emotions. For a long time, I felt that my father never really understood me, but I was completely wrong. He always understood and valued me. That's probably why he trusted me with that old mini truck, knowing I would value it and use it well. Mom, I really wish I could have done more for Dad, I said, feeling deep regret. But my mother comforted me with a gentle smile. She seemed to understand the regret I felt, saying, It's natural to think you could have done more when mourning a parent. But you brought your father great joy and gave him so much love. You were his greatest pride. Hearing her words made me cry again. They also inspired me to make a firm decision. I wouldn't let the company my father built fall into the hands of someone like Kyle, who had wished for his death. I decided to quietly resist and make a careful plan without letting Kyle know I had acquired a significant fortune. The first step was to contact the corporate executives my father had trusted to build a foundation for their support. They agreed to help, supporting my desire to carry on my father's legacy. Their reactions made it clear that my father had never spoken poorly of me. Meanwhile, my mother and sister acted soothingly during the letter reading, keeping Kyle's attention off me. They continued to act the same way in front of Kyle, which made him think he had succeeded and looked down on me with arrogance. Hey, you, abandoned by your father and left a poor man, still intend to stay in this house. I'm the new president now. Admit your defeat and go back home. Kyle would say these words dismissively, waving his hand as if he were shooing away a small fly. Since becoming CEO, Kyle's arrogant attitude created a tense atmosphere in the company. Despite his high position, he ignored his duties and became rude to his staff. This caused a lot of problems, and many skilled employees were left unhappy with his leadership. Kyle didn't question his approach and remained overly confident. Those who can't grasp my superior vision might as well quit immediately, he would say in public, making decisions without listening to anyone else. As problems in the company increased, Kyle enjoyed spending money and living lavishly, while his passion for the business seemed to disappear. When I first met him, he seemed like a great person. He was skilled, and even my dad liked him. How had he changed so much? Lauren cried every night, hiding her tears from the children. I couldn't just watch the company fall apart. I was quietly planning my next move. The day came when I acted. I left home early and waited at the office for Kyle. When he walked into the president's office, he was shocked to see me sitting there. What the hell are you doing? Why are you sitting there? Get this person out of here, he demanded. The one who should be leaving is you, I replied calmly. What are you talking about? Have you lost your mind? Kyle looked at me as if I was an annoying insect. Using the assets our father left us, I had bought the majority of the company's shares. An extraordinary general meeting of shareholders was held, and you were officially removed as president, Kyle. I'm sorry to say, but you are no longer the president of this company. Wait just a minute, he stammered, confused and repeating words that made no sense. Don't you understand? I now control 2/3 of this company's shares. You thought the inheritance was just an old mini truck, but that truck turned into money in an unexpected way. Kyle tried to dig into details about the hideaway, but I avoided his questions and changed the subject, which only made him more upset. The game is over. Leave this place immediately, I told him calmly and handed him several documents. As Kyle looked through them, his face went white. What is this? He asked. These are the minutes from the extraordinary general meeting of shareholders, and this other document is your dismissal notice, I explained. Kyle became very angry, crumpled the papers in his hands, and shouted, You think this will hold up? I'll take legal action. Go ahead with legal action. We have good reasons for our actions, I responded calmly. What reasons? You just been after the old man's wealth and this company from the start. It's nothing but jealousy, Kyle accused. Let me ask you directly, Kyle. Have you been using company assets for personal use and signing leasing contracts for your own benefit? I asked. What if I have? What's it to you? Kyle replied, his face turning pale with shock. I kept my gaze fixed on him and continued, You should have been more aware of your responsibilities. Did you become complacent when you thought you controlled everything? I had been gathering information about Kyle's actions from the company's executives. After our father passed away, Kyle became more arrogant. He used to at least pretend to respect others, but as president, he began to shift his work onto others and even fell asleep in his office. This attitude caused many loyal employees who respected my father to leave, frustrated by his behavior. Kyle, upset by the situation, doubted my ability to manage, emphasizing that it was impossible for me to fulfill the role of a manager. You have never worked a day in this company. Think about it. How can someone with no experience in running the company become president? It's impossible to trust management to someone like you, Kyle argued. You're absolutely right, I agreed. I have no intention of becoming the president of this company. My sitting in this chair is just a symbolic message to you. In fact, a new president has already been elected by a different board of directors and is already carrying out their duties. Kyle was stunned. He stood there with his mouth open and his eyes wide, shocked by the turn of events. He had been sure that I was after the presidency and had schemed to replace him. As I've said many times, I'm not after the president's position. My only goal is to honor my father and protect the company he spent his life building, I explained. Who would believe such fancy talk? Kyle retorted. He thought I only cared about the wealth and status that came from our father, not his true worth. After my reply, Kyle trembled with anger for a moment, but then composed himself. Do you think this is over and you can just enjoy it? He scoffed and then stormed out of the president's office. That night, something unexpected happened. Lauren threw divorce papers at Kyle, ending their marriage. This was a result of his misconduct at the company and his eventual firing. The new president was chosen from among the directors who respected my father and were determined to protect what he built. I felt the company should be led by someone who would continue my father's legacy, a sentiment my mother and sister supported. As I coordinated Kyle's dismissal with the lawyers, Lauren was preparing for the divorce. On the day she mentioned divorce, her hurt voice filled the house with a heavy atmosphere. Why do you turn away from me now? Is it because I've lost the title of president and you've lost interest in me? Kyle asked. Maintaining her calm but firm demeanor, Lauren replied, There's no point in talking about betrayal. You were the one who betrayed our relationship from the start. Your love was not for me but for the title of the president's daughter. You neglected our home, didn't help raise our children, showed no respect to our sick father, and in the end, you tried to take everything from our father for yourself. Now it's time for you to face the consequences. Kyle had no response to Lauren's words. She had endured a lot, worrying about her children's futures and the fate of the company, but thankfully, the inheritance from our father gave her a solid financial base to raise her children. After the divorce, we planned to live a peaceful life away from conflict with our mother and sister. Our only concern was the possibility of retaliation from Kyle, but he was now out of funds. He had lost a lot of money to an investment scam and was even in debt. This scam involved the man pretending to be from a brokerage firm who was actually a fraudster. Kyle was played by convincing words, losing a significant amount. This situation showed how people could exploit those who suddenly have a lot of money. Now Kyle was suffering the financial consequences of his actions. Meanwhile, I spent fulfilling days taking care of my mother. I enjoyed a peaceful, comfortable life, continuing my work at the tutoring school. My mother and I also took great joy in caring for my nephew Peter, who was very fond of us. His presence added happiness to our daily lives. When I grow up, I'm going to be a president like Grandpa, Peter declared, his words filled with the innocence of childhood dreams. This brought smiles to our faces and even made my mother tear up with emotion. Lauren and I exchanged knowing looks, our smiles reflecting warmth and understanding. You might say it now, but I wouldn't be surprised if you want to become a teacher when you're in college, I told him gently, reflecting on similar past statements, which made everyone laugh. But I'm not very good at studying, so maybe I won't make a good teacher, he said seriously, furrowing his brow. His earnestness made this even more endearing and prompted more laughter, this time filled with affection. In that moment, filled with an overwhelming sense of happiness, we realized we were truly living in the present, enjoying our family unity, and ready to face whatever the future might bring. Hello everyone, my name is Tina. For a while now, my mother-in-law, Hannah, has been a real thorn in my side. It wasn't until I gave my husband, Eric, an ultimatum that her toxic presence was finally removed from our lives. I thought I'd share this story because I know you'd enjoy the karma. Eric and I met in college. We had the perfect whirlwind romance that's common in college. He was a senior, and I was a freshman. We got acquainted at a party, and the rest is history. I won't bore you with the details of my love life, but after dating for 4 years, we finally decided to get engaged. We waited a while before getting married, mostly because of Hannah. You see, Hannah and my dad went to college together. She was in love with him and wanted to date him, but Dad ended up falling for my mom and marrying her instead. When Hannah first saw me, she said, Eric, how can you do this to me? You're dating this witch. You know her mom is a homewrecker. Mom, what are you talking about? I don't understand. Tina is a great person. Why would you say things like this? Her mom destroyed my first love. I should have married Ruby's dad. Nana stole him from me. She's a cheap woman, and I'm sure Tina is no better. Don't talk about my mother like that. She's done nothing to you. My father only dated my mom and no one else. Yes, he would have dated me if your witch mother hadn't tricked him away. Your mother is a homewrecker. I was appalled by Hannah's words. Yes, my dad did know Hannah. But they never dated. They weren't even friends. My dad said they were batchmates and nothing more. He knew about Eric and Hannah before he passed away after I graduated. He also warned me that Hannah was a little crazy, but I didn't take his warning seriously. Now I could see that he didn't exaggerate. After hearing Hannah attack me and my mom, I decided to cut the visit short. I told Eric that I was leaving. He looked pissed but didn't follow me out. I went home and waited for Eric to return. When he finally came back, he said, "What the hell is wrong with you, Tina? Why did you leave so abruptly? That was extremely rude. You insulted my mom by leaving early." Excuse me? Are you deaf, Eric? Did you not hear how your mom kept insulting me and my mom? You still expected me to stay there. My mom didn't lie about anything. She was just venting and taking out her frustrations. She's not wrong though. Your mom did steal your dad from my mom. It's natural for her to feel sad. That was years ago, Eric. How can you say my mom stole my dad? My dad told me about Hannah. She wasn't even a friend. Your mother is hung up on the past for no reason. It doesn't matter. The thing is, my mom talked about your dad a lot. It breaks my heart to see her this sad. Now that I see my mother in distress, I don't want your mother around. I can't play in-laws with Nina knowing that she broke my mom's heart. You have to be kidding me. My mom is not responsible for destroying whatever made-up relationship Hannah had in her mind. We fought for days on this topic. Eric didn't even want my mom at our wedding. It was insane. He kept saying that my mom's presence would upset Hannah. In fact, he also said that Hannah was pressuring him not to marry me. I couldn't understand why Eric was taking his mom's side over this stupid issue. Hannah was acting like an unreasonable person, and I knew she needed professional help to get over my dad. Hannah was super manipulative and had a strong influence on Eric. Since she was a single mother, Eric tended to take her side over everyone else. Hannah never liked me. I tried my best to extend an olive branch every time I could. However, she rejected me every time and found ways to humiliate me and my family. At our rehearsal dinner, there was a huge fiasco between my mom and Hannah. So far, we have been able to keep Hannah and Nina from meeting, but the rehearsal was inevitable, and so was their meeting. Eric tried to stop my mom from attending. He said, "Why can't your mom skip the rehearsal, Tina? She doesn't need to be there anyway. You know my mom will be there. I don't think Nina should come." Why the hell would I ask my mom to skip the rehearsal? She has done nothing wrong. Hannah is the one who is still obsessed with the past. Look, I don't care if Nina is innocent. I just know that my mom has trouble being around her. It's my wedding, and I don't want my mom to be unhappy. She's the only one I have. This is also my wedding, Eric. Just because I have a sister doesn't mean my mother has become disposable. You know why I'm close to her. After even more arguing, I put my foot down. There was no way my mother was getting uninvited from the wedding or rehearsal. I had accommodated Hannah and her stupid demands for long enough. However, nothing prepared me for what happened during our rehearsal. Hannah straight up approached my mom and started yelling at her. "You are that witch who destroyed my life. How dare you mess up my life?" "What are you talking about, Hannah? I didn't do anything to you. If this is about my husband, you two were not even in a relationship. I don't know why you're blaming me because he fell for me. He would have been mine if you hadn't interfered. I would have nabbed him. You are nothing but a homewrecker first. You took him away and then trapped him with a child. Now your witch daughter is trying to steal my son. Hannah, you are insane. I know you kept tabs on me and my husband. We never confronted you because we didn't want trouble. Hell, I didn't even stop my daughter when she told us about Eric. Eric and Tina are happy together, Hannah. Let's not ruin their day." Hannah wouldn't listen. She kept shouting at my mom and me, calling us all sorts of names. Some of them downright disgusting. I won't repeat them here. You can imagine. The guests were extremely uncomfortable, and most of them were appalled by Hannah's reaction, which only enraged her further. Eric, incredibly, still took his mother's side. After the party was over, we went home, and an argument ensued. Eric was furious at my mom for everything. "Sue, this is why I didn't want Nina around. Look how she destroyed our wedding. How can you still blame my mom, Eric? This is ridiculous. Hannah made a huge scene today. She started it, and my mom was way too soft on her. Your mom shouldn't have come to the rehearsal. She has no regard for my mom's feelings. I no longer want her in my life. I don't want a relationship with her ever. Don't even talk to me about her. And I don't want her at my house frequently. Fine then, Eric. If you don't want a relationship with her, that's fine. But I'm not abandoning my mom for nothing. After our arguments, I had serious doubts about marrying him. Eric was a great boyfriend and fiancé, and between the two of us, happiness and love were abundant. This was the only problem plaguing us. I talked to my mom about my fears, and I wasn't sure about continuing with the wedding. Mom, I think I should postpone the wedding. Eric's behavior is giving me lots of doubts. He has been very unfair towards you, all because of his mom. Tana, Eric loves you a lot. I would never forgive myself if I were the reason for your breakup. If you love and care for him, and he does the same, these things won't come between you. But Mom, I can't have him insulting you every time. It breaks my heart to know he won't have a relationship with you. It's okay, Tana. It's natural for Eric to side with Hannah. She is his mom. As for me, I'm thinking about going back to my hometown in another country. I've been lonely without your father, and you're getting married now. I'll be away and won't be a problem for your relationship. It'll be the best solution for all of us. Yes, my mother decided to move to another country so I could be happy. I can't stop praising this woman. She's literally the best mom ever. I begged her to stay, but she said she needed to be with her extended family. Dad's passing had affected her a lot. In the end, I let her go because I didn't want her to feel lonely. Eric never found out about my mom leaving. He didn't know for another 3 years after our wedding. It wasn't until Hannah decided to try and nuke our marriage. Before Mom left, I started visiting her very often. She was around for 1 month after I got married, and I wanted to spend as much time with her as possible. I was pissed at Eric, so I never told him about Mom's decision to leave. Instead, I just told him I was visiting her. Eric wasn't happy with my frequent visits even though I did it when he wasn't home. Hannah also put ideas into his head that I was manipulating him. After my mom left, I continued visiting her place, mostly to take care of the house and the garden she had lovingly built. However, Hannah was convinced that I was conspiring with my mom against Eric and her, so she did something horrible. One day while I was out grocery shopping, Eric called me. He sounded very angry, which made me anxious. Why is your mother at our home for the 7th time this month? This is getting ridiculous, Tana. I told you I don't want that woman in my house. I overlooked the first few times because I didn't want to deprive you of your mother, but now this is becoming too much. What the hell are you talking about, Eric? My mom hasn't been coming over at all. I'm not even at the house right now. Are you out of your mind? Don't lie to me, Tana. I know she's been over recently. Mom has told me everything. She saw Nina's car in the driveway. You have to be kidding me, Eric. Your mom must have mixed things up. My mom is in a different country. She hasn't been here for over 3 years. She moved just after our wedding. That is impossible. I would have known if she had moved. Stop protecting your mother every time, Eric. I didn't tell you because you didn't want to hear about my mom. She moved because she didn't want to come between us. How can you accuse me or my mom of going behind your back? But Mom said she has been over. What is going on? I'm confused now. Even the neighbor said she saw a lady coming over. Why don't you come home so that we can see the CCTV footage? That will answer all our questions. If someone has been coming over, they are trespassing, and this is a serious problem. Eric quickly hung up the phone and agreed to come straight away. I too left my doctor's appointment and headed straight home. When we reached home, we saw that someone had indeed been in the house. That immediately gave me goosebumps. When we finally pulled up the CCTV footage, we were shocked. It turns out Hannah was the one trespassing into the house. We never even gave her a key, and we had no idea how she got access. Eric and I were furious. We immediately called Hannah and told her to come over. When she did, we confronted her. Why the hell have you been coming to our house when it is empty? Where did you even get a key? Mom, what is going on here? You said Nina has been coming over to meet with Tana. Yeah, of course, she is, Eric. Your wife has been going behind your back and meeting with that homewrecker. Mom, why the hell are you lying? We know it was you. Damn it. Why would you lie to us? I'm not lying to you, Eric. I saw her with my own eyes. Your witch of a wife is brainwashing you. Hannah, stop blaming me and Mom for everything. Mom hasn't even been in this country for 3 years. Besides, I guess you didn't know that we have CCTVs around our house. We saw you come in when we were gone." Hearing this, Hannah turned extremely pale. The color drained from her face. If I wasn't so concerned about our safety, I would have laughed at her expression, but I was too anxious to do that. Eric was also stunned and looked at Hannah in disbelief. "Mom, tell me what I'm seeing here. How the hell did you even find a key?" Well, I made one for you. Since your witch of a wife wouldn't give me a key, I had to do this. You can't blame me for this." "Mom, you stole our keys to make a copy from them? Are you insane? It was both mine and Tina's decision not to give you a key. This is our house, and we deserve some privacy. You basically committed a felony, Mom." "You say that to me? I am your mom, and I should have access to your house." "First of all, Hannah, no. Just no. You don't deserve to breach our privacy. Secondly, why did you drag my mom into this? She is innocent. I'm sure you've been letting your mom come here. I wanted to warn my son. Sooner or later, it would have happened. Your mom stole my man, and now you're stealing my son. I can't let that happen." "Mom, stop it. I've tried very hard to be on your side, but you have crossed the line. I don't think I can trust you after this," Eric said, his voice full of disappointment. "This is all Tina's fault, Eric. You shouldn't have married her. She's taken you away from me. I had to do this to make you see some reason," Hannah retorted. By that time, I was done with Hannah. I had put up with her insults for far too long. She kept insulting me and my mom, but I never retaliated. I even limited contact with my mom to please Eric and Hannah. But now, I couldn't hold back any longer. I tore into Hannah and Eric. "I have had enough of you insulting my mom, Hannah. I won't put up with this anymore. Eric, I know you love your mom, but she has crossed the line. If you continue to stay in contact with her, I will leave. There is no way I'm putting up with her behavior any longer. I am done." "Tina, you don't have to leave. I have seen enough already. Mom, just leave and don't contact us again. I will be calling the police to report you for trespassing and making a key without our permission. I'm done with you." No, Eric, you can't do this to me. How can you take Tana's side after everything? She and her mom want to destroy me. Don't let them do this." "That's it, Mom. Leave my house immediately. I don't want to see you again. Don't contact us. I'll put a restraining order against you." Hannah wouldn't listen. She kept throwing tantrums and even tried to attack me. That's when Eric called the police, and they arrested her. We submitted the CCTV footage and had the neighbor confirm that they saw Hannah entering our house. Hannah was taken away in cuffs. When the police finally left with her, Eric turned to me and said, "Tina, I have absolutely no words to tell you how much I messed up. I'm so sorry. I never should have prioritized my mom over yours. I knew she was being unreasonable, but I wanted to support her. I had no idea she would do something like this. Eric, things can't go on like this anymore. My mom and I have suffered enough. It has to end somewhere. You let your mom attack me and my mom all the time, and we never protested. My mom even left the country to save me from having to choose. I know, Tina. I'm so sorry for everything. I will apologize to Nina as well. She didn't deserve this treatment. I take full responsibility for making things this way, and don't worry, I won't let Mom get away with this." True to his word, Eric called my mom and apologized. He was worried that she wouldn't speak to him, but she agreed to hear him out. Eric said, "I'm so sorry for treating you badly, Nina. I know you didn't deserve this. Today's events just opened my eyes to how horrible and manipulative my mom can be. It's okay, Eric. I don't blame you. It's natural for you to take your mom's side. I know you value your family a lot, which is why I never opposed Tana marriage to you. You have always been patient with me. You were also my family, and I failed to be there for you. Please forgive me. Will you come back? I promise it won't be a problem anymore." "No, Eric. I've gotten quite comfortable here. I don't want to come back. I'll visit, but I think I am happier here. Don't blame yourself for this. Just make sure you protect my daughter and take care of her. That's all I want." Eric was even more devastated by my mom's words. He finally understood how badly he had messed up. He also grew a newfound respect for my mom, which made me happy to see that things would finally change. As for Hannah, Eric and I refused to withdraw our case or even grant her bail. Some relatives did call us to take her side. However, They quickly changed their minds once we told them everything. Apparently, Hannah had cooked up a story that wasn't true at all, so they didn't know what had really happened. One aunt did bail her out but told her never to call her again. The police also told her to stay away from us. Hannah didn't listen to the police. She kept approaching us and even showed up at Eric's work and our house. When the harassment didn't stop, we filed restraining orders against her. That finally made her stop visiting. From what our extended family told us, Hannah had lost her job due to the police report. She was begging for money and showing up at everyone's house for help. No one was willing to help her unless she joined therapy. They even offered to pay for it, but Hannah refused their offer, so they shut the door in her face. Last I heard, she was struggling to find a job and was about to lose her house. Eric still finds it difficult to deal with the fiasco. He joined therapy, where he realized just how narcissistic Hannah was. Her manipulative ways had also affected him mentally, and he is still in recovery. He has made good progress and is slowly learning to identify the abusive behaviors of Hannah. So far, he has absolutely no intentions of ever seeing her again.